Welcome back to the Literary Scapes podcast. We have a fun interview today with a friend of mine, actually, an author friend of mine, Christy Swift. We are going to be talking about her debut novel, which is Celebrity Crush. I have a copy of it right
So do
here.
I.
Yeah.
Twinsies.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. So this interview will come out a couple days after your book has published. And so I'm just curious, like this whole ramp up to release day, how has that been for you?
It's been crazy and really fun. My publisher, Hachette Forever, has done a really good job. My publicist has been getting the book out there. So whenever I go talk to an indie bookstore, they're like, oh, we've heard of it. They get a big
Ooh.
smile. I have a couple of events scheduled. One at an indie bookstore in Fort Pierce, one at a boutique in my old hometown of Lake Placid.
Oh,
This is all in
fun.
Florida, if you have anybody who's outside of Florida.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and then
so
I got
cool.
I got invited to go to Romancing the Books, the event in
Yes,
Orlando,
I was at that one
online.
last year. It's
He
so much
told
fun.
me. So I want to pick your brain about that. But other than that, my publicist has been getting me on podcasts, um, interviews, written interviews as well. I've been tagged by so many bookstagrammers. I just keep sharing to stories.
Yeah.
Recently, this is super exciting, but my audiobook narrator,
Ooh.
his name is Andrew Aiden, and he's super popular. And he was actually being interviewed about something else, and he mentioned Celebrity Crush.
No
And how,
way.
yeah, he talked about how much fun he had doing it, how funny it was. And they sent me, my publicist sent me the clip, and I shared it. And like it's now the audiobook community is like, ah,
Woo! That is so fun. I love that.
yeah.
Good
So
times.
it's really fun. I'm trying to just hold on and enjoy the ride, you know?
Yeah,
Because it's not always like this in publishing, right? It's you're not
right.
on this high, so you got to enjoy it while you're there.
Absolutely. So let's step back a little bit and talk about how did you get into writing?
Well, I was that kid who was always reading and always like writing little stories. So it's always been my strength, right? I was an English major,
Okay.
and so I was that person, but I didn't really I did write a novel in college, come to think of it, but I never did anything with it. I just did it to entertain myself, and actually it's printed out in my attic, and I should probably pull it down and have a look at it just for fun.
That's fun.
But you launch into life, and I was
Hmm.
traveling a lot, and I was, then I got married and I had kids. And when I was a younger adult, I kind of felt like I didn't have enough life experience to really have stories to tell.
Right.
But after living, and having all of those experiences, I found myself with my kids now old enough that they didn't need me constantly,
Right.
and I saw other people writing books. My brother wrote a book with a friend of his.
Very
Um,
cool.
the friend who introduced my husband and me, he wrote a book, and I'm like, wow,
These are
every
like normal people.
yeah, like why am I not doing this? And
Yeah.
actually, I was reading too. I was getting back into reading, and I was reading YA sci-fi is kind of my thing. And I was reading the Divergent series, and I
Ooh.
I posted on Facebook, why do I love YA dystopian fiction so much? And my old English teacher from high school, one of them, um, she responds and she says, I don't know, but you should be writing it. And that was
Oh.
kind of like the moment when I was like, okay, universe, I'm going to start doing this.
That is
Like,
so fun. And you and I met 2 or 3 years ago at a conference.
mhm.
And is that when you were just getting back into it, or had you started prior to that?
I had started way prior to that.
Oh, okay.
So, like 7 years before that,
Holy moly. Okay.
I wrote a YA sci-fi manuscript. And that started my journey too of like learning about the publishing industry and taking craft workshops and
Right.
going to conferences and joining groups. And when I met you, I was three manuscripts in, and I had
Jeez.
just gotten my agent
Yeah,
for Celebrity Crush.
that
So
is so fun. Okay.
that's when we met.
That is so cool. So, how did the idea for Celebrity Crush come to you? Because you had other stories out, not out there yet, but you had written them, obviously.
Yeah, so this was my first stab at a rom-com. I was
Yeah, because
always
it's not
a sci-fi
YA
girly.
sci-fi.
No, no. And I don't think I ever would have done it if I hadn't um, done the NYC Midnight Short Story Contest.
Oh,
I don't know if you're familiar with it,
I'm
but
not.
so in January, the NYC Midnight Short Story Contest happens every year. And basically, you sign up and they put authors into groups and heats. And so
Okay.
mine, and then they give you a genre, a character trait, and something else. And you have some limitations, like a word count limitation and time. And you have to come up with a short story
Okay.
based around those things. And then you're all judged, and some of you move on. And, that's how they kind of whittle it down till they get their winners. So my first heat was rom-com. My character trait was game designer, and the other thing was overcompensating. So I was like, oh, I've never done a rom-com before. I don't even know if I can be funny. So I sat down and I wrote this short story about this agoraphobic board game designer who falls in love with the girl in charge of his booth at a conference. And
Okay.
it won first place in the heat.
Oh, that's so fun.
So that was fun and it gave me confidence. And then that was January of 2020, and then COVID hit, right? So we were all quarantined and, in like existential crisis. It
Right.
was a scary time. Um, and I said to my husband, listen, we're stuck here at home. Three of our four girls were living at home at the time. And I said, let's make it fun. Let's watch the Avengers movies, like in the
Yeah.
recommended order. Just queue it up and let's binge. It'll be a fun
Yeah.
memory. So my husband was like totally on board with that. And we started watching these movies. And I think like that binging and how great those films were and the
Yeah.
characters and just the talent and everything and the hot, of course, actors
Yeah.
combined with the existential dread of being in a,
And COVID. Yeah.
quarantine during a pandemic. The girls and I like we kind of obsessed a bit. And like they were sending me promo tour footage and they were like, "Did you know that Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans weren't allowed to do interviews together because they would get too silly and they wouldn't stay like on brand and all this
Oh,
stuff."
that's so funny.
So like I had all this kind of milling around in my head and I'm like, maybe I'll write something fun and light. Maybe I'll do a rom-com and I'm gonna set it in Hollywood. And I'm gonna like get to live what it would have been like to like
Right.
be a part of something like that, like this epic fandom. And it's the same thing with like Star Trek, right? When one of the Star
Yeah.
Trek shows ends, like all the actors are just like they're like gutted because they were
Well,
all
yeah, this is their
friends.
family.
It's
Yeah.
a family. This is their life. Like they live this. So I wanted to live that. And I know I'm not going to, but for the
Yeah.
moment, I could. So I like to say Celebrity Crush is a COVID quarantine Avengers marathon fever dream because that's pretty much what it is.
That's awesome. So, in all of that, do you have a celebrity crush?
I have several celebrity crushes.
Okay.
In fact, I usually like have a top five at any one time.
And it changes.
Well, I'm very fickle. It's like,
Yeah.
what have you done for me lately? It depends on what I'm watching. But
I
I
love
do
it.
have some top ones, and I've had celebrity crushes though since my teenage years. So I
Hmm.
still have them, like they're still in
Oh,
my
sure.
heart.
Yeah.
Sting is still in my heart. He always will
understandably.
be. Michael Bean, who he gets mentions in this book. Sting gets a mention. I think a lot of my celebrity crushes get mentions. But Michael Bean played Kyle Reese in The Terminator.
Oh,
And
okay.
he played in Aliens. I had such a huge crush on him. I really feel like that's where my love of sci-fi with a romantic subplot came from, was
That's fun.
watching The Terminator at 17 years old and going, oh my God.
There you go, huh?
But
That's
lately my faves are Chris Pratt, definitely. Ryan
understandable.
Gosling.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
mm, Lee Pace, who I didn't really know much about until that sci-fi show Foundation came out.
Okay,
He's in that. And
okay.
like I don't normally go for the alphas. I usually like the like charming rogue, but
Yeah, yeah.
Lee Pace plays like the Emperor of the Galaxy. It's funny. The Emperor, like he exists in three types. Like they clone a younger version of him and a middle-aged version, the older version, and the three of them like govern together. And Lee Pace plays the middle-aged one, and he's like an Adonis. And I'm just like, wow, like now I get it. Alpha girls, I get it, finally.
That
Lee
is
Pace
awesome.
converted me. So.
That's so funny.
What about
So,
you? Who's your celebrity crush?
I am not sure. I do like the Chris's, the Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth. They're all pretty
Chris
fun.
Pine, Chris Carmack. The
Yeah, I
Chris's
mean
are just
there's a lot of Chris's that are worth watching.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's
agreed.
they're fun right now. So one of the questions I saw on your socials recently was, have you met a celebrity? So I was curious if you have met a celebrity.
I have met one celebrity in my life, and that was Judd Nelson from The Breakfast Club.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
pretty good story. You want to hear
I
it?
do. Tell away.
I was in eighth grade in middle school, and my friend Audrey Spudek, her mom got like tickets to this dinner theater in Jupiter, Florida, which was like an hour away from where we lived. And so Audrey invited me and another friend to go. So we go, and we're in this dinner theater having this experience, and he's on stage. I don't even remember the show. I don't remember anything about the show or the performance. But after the show, we wanted to stick around and try to meet him. And Audrey's mom, God love her, she was like, I was like, I want to be just like her when I'm a mom of teenagers. And I hope that I, could live up to it in this circumstance.
Yeah.
But she like waited, she stuck around.
Because it's
We,
not like minutes. It's
no.
yeah.
And
It's
as a kid, it's hard, right? To time seems longer, but I felt like we waited at least a couple of hours.
yeah.
We had to leave, so we just sat in our car. We like saw other cars there, so we assumed these are the cast transportation. So we
Okay.
waited. They all came out and they got in their cars, and she followed them. We followed them. I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
We followed them to a bar, and like it's a bar, right? We
They're
can't go inside.
teenagers. Yeah.
13-year-old girls. So her mom goes in. And she goes up to Judd Nelson and she tells him, there are some teenage girls outside. They just saw you in the show. They would really like to meet you. And he was so gracious and wonderful. He
Aw.
came out, he like just like gave us his attention, like his full attention. I remember him looking me in the eyes and just talking to me and interacting with
Wow.
me. He took pictures with us. I have to
Aw.
dig that photo out. He signed headshots for us. He was absolutely a gem.
That is
So
so
kudos to Judd.
formative for that, for a young girl to have that happen, because you hear stories of celebrities who are just jerks sometimes, and so to have a completely different experience is awesome. I love that.
Well, to add on to that, there was someone else in that show who who was not very nice.
Mm,
Her car pulled up. She got out. I'm not gonna rat her
yeah,
out. This
yeah,
is a long time ago, whatever. Um, but he was like, "Oh, come on over and get a picture." And she was like,
yeah. That's too bad.
"Yeah."
her
And I've
loss.
kind of held a little grudge, not little
Yeah, just
tiny grudge.
I
She could have
understand.
been nicer. We were kids. She could have been nicer.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun story. I like that. And so did that kind of weave into your whole book writing, the fact that you actually had met someone and the different ways that, people, yes, like the female and Judd, how they interacted with you as a kid. Did any of that make it into the book or not really?
If it did, probably like subconsciously, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it, I, the theme of the book is very much celebrities are people too, and I don't vilify celebrities in this book.
No,
You could go in that direction, right? With that, but I don't. There are some characters in the book who, maybe are a little snobby, but um
there's people in real life that are like that too. So,
right. And so, maybe now come to think of it, maybe my experience with Judd Nelson did like give me a heart for,
hmm,
celebrities when they're good
yeah,
people,
good guys.
and
Yeah.
doing the right thing and care about their fans and take the time. There is a lot of that in that book. So, probably.
Well, the Breakfast Club was pretty iconic. And the fact that he's part of the Brat Pack, and that your experience with that was really fun. I like that. That's a fun story. Good experience.
Something funny. He's actually at MegaCon in Orlando right now,
Oh
and my
no.
kids are going tomorrow, and they're going to see him. I heard them watching The Breakfast Club last night because there's going
Nice.
to be a panel, and I was thinking I should dig up that picture. I should go. I should, pay for the meet and greet, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like $300 it's going to cost me at this hour to do it. I don't know,
For
but.
this moment. Yeah.
I don't know if I can, and I have an interview tomorrow, so I don't think I can make it happen. But I think if I am going to find that photo and I'm going to hold on to it. And if I ever do have a chance in the future to meet Judd Nelson, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to say,
Again.
hey, can we reenact this picture? And do you remember?
Yeah. Do you
That would
by
be really
any
fun.
stretch of the yeah, that's so fun. I love that. I love that. So tell us what Celebrity Crush is about.
Okay, the elevator pitch. I actually pulled up Publishers Weekly's little synopsis because I think they did a really good job with it. Let me see if I can find it in all of my tabs. Are you one of those people that has like 100 tabs open?
I'm not 100, but I'm about 10. So I'm dozens versus hundreds.
Yeah, that's probably more realistic. But I do think I have more than 2 dozen. Okay. 13 years after Emmy Ellison's Hollywood dreams were crushed, she skyrockets to fame when a viral poll reveals her debut romance novel was inspired by her real celebrity crush. As the book becomes a bestseller and a film adaptation is fast-tracked with her crush cast as the lead, Emmy finds herself living her ultimate fantasy. Meanwhile, her crush hopes the project will rescue him from some bad press. As they grow closer on their promo tour, Emmy struggles with a secret. She included a deeply painful moment from his past in her novel. When he finds out, it's bound to ruin their Hollywood ending.
Nice. Nice. I like that. So there one of my favorite scenes was near the beginning when she had to, I guess, out her crush and they had the hug off. Share about that piece.
Do you mean in the very beginning or at the cast party when
I think
she...
it was at the very
Okay.
beginning, the one that I was thinking of. Yeah.
Right. So the opening scene of this book is Emmy going on, being interviewed on TV to like admit who her crush is because she did a poll. Everyone knew that the book was based on one of the stars in Lost Star Dance Troupe Saves the Universe, this sci-fi dance TV show that I made up that I wish was real. And
That's so funny.
she did a poll, it went viral. So this is kind of how she skyrocketed up. So as she's on the show, she's kind of deciding, do I tell them? Do I not? How do I play this? And then she realizes that the host brought all four of the guys onto the show. So she's sitting there and I mean, and just imagine, Chris Hemsworth comes out and shakes your hand, and then Robert Downey Jr. comes out, and then Chris Pratt, and, Jeremy Renner, like whoever. And
Yeah,
she's like deer in the headlights, right? And when her crush comes out, he actually pulls her out of the, oh no, when she finally admits who it is, because she does, he he hugs her. And earlier in the interview, the host had asked her, what she would do if she ever met her celebrity crush. And she said she would want a hug, but like it would have to be a long hug,
yeah,
long enough to make everyone else in the room a little uncomfortable, because she would have to get through all that to be able to like, okay, and relax and enjoy it. So obviously he was paying attention backstage, because when he hugs her, he like gives her that long
that
hug
long,
that allows
awkward
her to
hug. Yeah.
process all of that and enjoy it. And the audience goes crazy. And that's kind of what the chemistry that they have together in that
Yeah.
show is that kicks off that entire book.
Yeah, that was a great way to kick off the book and start it. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Thank you. That was actually a tip I got from a fellow writer friend. Originally, I wasn't starting with that scene. I
Oh,
had some more
fun.
set up,
Okay.
and he was like, "Why? He said you're missing an opportunity, because if you notice, I haven't said the name of the crush, because when we start this book, you don't know who it is. The reader doesn't
Right.
know who it is." He's like, "Why don't you let your readers experience what her fans are experiencing, in that they don't know who it is and they get to find out on the show?" So I did that, and it was a brilliant piece of advice. Thank you, Joel Brigham. Um, and it ended up, I think, being what sold the book, that hook
Nice.
and that excitement and the voiciness and that moment is what sold
Yeah.
the book.
Awesome. That is fun. And so that comes out on February 11th.
Mhm.
So just a few days from when we're recording this, which is super exciting. And you have a follow-up book, correct?
I do. I haven't turned it into my editor yet. I'm
Okay.
finalizing edits on it, but it's in the same universe.
Okay.
So it's those characters you're going to get to see again. And I don't really know how much I'm allowed to say. Like my editor hasn't even seen it yet.
Okay.
But there will be a second Celebrity Crush
That's
book
exciting. That's
that, yeah,
exciting.
that I hope is just as funny as the first. I actually think it's funnier.
That's so fun. So because we talk about literary escapes on here, your book is set in California in the Hollywood area.
Mhm.
Have you been there?
So I used to work for a company based out of Manhattan Beach, which is in LA, part of
Yeah,
LA, and they used to bring me out there once a month. So I have spent time
in
out
that
in
area.
LA and Hollywood, and so a lot of the little details about Hollywood are included. I've been to like the Dr. Phil show. I've been a studio audience member. I've
So you
never
know what
worked
all of that's like. Yeah.
I've never worked in film or anything like
Hmm.
that, but I'm a sci-fi fangirl, and I've seen some behind the scenes kind of stuff. And so I just try to incorporate that in
What you
there
know.
along with
Yeah.
my experiences over in Cali.
That's fun. Okay. Because you do get a good sense for the area as well. And I thought that was interesting because I was curious about your sense of that. Does the next book thus far stay in that same setting?
Yes, that was one of my publisher's requests, was that we hold on to that whole Hollywood glamour and glitz and
Yeah,
thing. So yes.
fun. Okay. And the fact that it's not obviously the Marvel world, but it's similar enough that as a reader, we kind of get what it feels like, because I think most people who enjoy the Marvel universe, you're going to have a crush on somebody in there. There's lots of good options. And
I
so,
I like to say, if you've ever had a crush on one of the Avengers, this is the book for you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do want to say you don't have to be a sci-fi girly to enjoy it because a lot of
Agreed.
people who have read it who didn't get every Easter egg,
Yeah.
it didn't diminish their experience. And neither my agent nor my editor are sci-fi girlies. They didn't get any of those references. They gave it to an intern, and it's like you should be able to love the book, but if you're a sci-fi girly,
It's
like
going to be that
you're gonna
much
be like,
better.
this was written for me. And you're right. Yes. It was. It
You're
was
my
written to
people.
you. Yeah.
That's awesome. I have one celebrity experience in my pocket, and it was in LA. Many, many years ago, I used to work for the airlines. And so some friends of mine, they were like, we want to go out to LA for the night. Will you come with us? So the three of us went out to LA. It was two guys, and we shared a room. And I was such a snob. I'm like, you guys sleep in that bed. I have this one to myself. and and so they go up to the bar when we first get there, and they're like, oh my gosh, you got to come up to the bar. Susan Richardson is there. I'm like, who's Susan Richardson? Apparently she was on the TV show Eight is Enough,
Okay.
and long red hair. And
Okay.
so they're like, we want to meet Susan Richardson. So you have to come up and meet her so that we can meet her. and so,
Because it
so
was
I
two
go,
guys and you had to be
I had to be
the
the
safe
entree for
female who
them.
ushers
Yeah.
them in. Yeah.
So I went up to the bar, and I went and met Susan Richardson, and she was completely lovely. And
Oh,
so we sat and had a lovely time at the bar, and she's like, you know what? We're going to go out. Do you guys want to come with us? Sure. So we go with her and her entourage. I guess we were part of the entourage in her limo. And we went to a couple different clubs and hung out with her for several hours. And at the end of the night, her limo pulls up into like a 7-Eleven or whatever the equivalent is out there. And she's like, okay, we're playing a game. It's called $1.69. And so we exchange names, drew names out of a hat. And we had to spend exactly $1.69 on our person with things that made us think of them.
this is a great story. You
So
play
we
this
go
with a
in.
celebrity. This is
Yeah,
great.
it was ridiculous. So we go and spend $1.69 or thereabouts. And then we go up to on top of the Hollywood sign. And that's where we exchanged our gifts.
Oh my God. This is so cool.
So that was my whole Hollywood meeting a celebrity story. So
Your story beats mine, I
it
have
was
to
fun.
say.
It
I
was
only
fun.
had a few minutes with Judd Nelson, and you like spent all evening and went to the top of the
Well, and
Hollywood sign.
she was headed to her mom's house, and she gave me her mom's phone number because you didn't have cell phones back then. But I'm like,
Wow.
so
That's
it
so
was pretty
cool.
funny. It was a fun story. So yeah, it touched some of my memories of that weekend when I was reading your story. So it was a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad. Oh, that's great. That's a great memory.
It was fun. So what is next for you?
Writing wise, um, well, I'm finishing the edits on the second Celebrity Crush book to turn that in, and that will probably be a 2026, slated of
Okay.
2026.
Awesome.
For new things in the romance area, I am collaborating with another author. Her name is
Ooh,
Colin. She's a New York
what's her
Times.
name? Say it again.
Emily Collin, Colin. She's
Nice.
a New York Times bestselling author. She writes all kinds of different types of fiction.
Okay.
And she just had her first paranormal rom-com, which is launching on Valentine's Day. It's
Oh,
called
fun.
in Love. So I'll give her a plug. Cursed in Love. It
Good
originally
title.
came out on a serialized platform, and I laughed so hard that I was like, why are you not writing rom-coms full time? This is so funny. So she and I are going to do a rom-com series together.
Oh, fun.
We're just
And is
starting
it going
out
to
with
be paranormal or sci-fi or something like that? Or
nope, nope. We're just gonna do almost like it's just gonna be contemporary, almost like a Virgin River type
okay.
feel to it.
Okay.
but in a different setting. And I don't want to say any more about that, but
Sure.
we're hoping it'll be fun and steamy, a little steamier than what I normally do.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like a closed door. I'm like a Rachel Parker three chili pepper, but everybody else one chili pepper. Right?
Right. Yeah, that is I'm glad you said that because it is closed door. And so, but it is also on your thing it says that you write smexy rom-com and I like that because it is sexy without like telling about it all.
It's not
So,
spicy, right?
no. Yeah.
It's smart and sexy. That's where I got the
Yes.
sexy from, but not spicy.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So, very cool. So, do you want to share a little bit about your sci-fi stuff that you've written?
Sure. I write sci-fi under the name CP Swift. I don't have any books out there yet. I do have a kind of space opera love story on submission. That's a series that I'd actually like to continue to work on this year and hopefully get out there. I also wrote a board game fantasy
Yeah.
based on, yeah, I'm a big nerd if you haven't figured that out already. My nephew designed, produced, and distributed a board game called Rolling Empires, and it's set in a fantasy world. And with his permission, I wrote a story based on his board game. So it's got elves and wizards and all that kind of thing. And I put it up on a free site called Royal Road, royalroad.com. If you sign up for their site, you can read lots of sci-fi and fantasy for free.
Nice.
Um, and you can read Shards of Power on there, a story from the world of Rolling Empires. I had so much fun with that. You and I went to a workshop together when I was like angsting over this because I had five POVs in this epic fantasy that I'd never done before. And I'm like, how am I gonna like
How do I
I
weave
was
it
in
all
it, right?
together?
I was in the mushy middle and I was like, I gotta pull these threads together and they all have to make sense. And I wasn't even sure I could do it, but I did it. And I was really, really happy with the outcome.
That's
The
so
story
fun.
is fun. The characters are great. I have a neurodivergent dwarf that everybody falls in love with. He's one of my POVs. I have a snarky elf queen who's like too good for everybody. And then my charming rogue of a wizard.
Of course. That is so fun. I love that. And yeah, so you've got a lot going on out there. CP Swift or Christy Swift, depending on what you enjoy reading. Um, and so that's a lot of fun. You mentioned this earlier, but you are in person in a few places over the next several days or several weeks, I should say. So, do you want to give those a quick plug?
Sure. If anybody's in Florida, I would love to have you come by. My first event is Sunday, February 16th at the Wanderlust Book Boutique in Fort Pierce, Florida. I'll be doing a signing of Celebrity Crush there. It is a gorgeous little indie bookstore.
Fun.
They do a lot of events, and if you haven't, checked out that store in the area, it's a really nice day trip. I'm doing a big launch party in my old town where I lived for 13 years before I moved here to the Space Coast. That's going to be February 27th. It's a Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Blueberry Patch Boutique in Lake Placid, Florida. So this
Nice.
is in the center of the state, like a couple
Yeah.
hours south of Orlando. Adorable little boutique in a small town. Again, this is where I raised my kids, so I have a lot of people there who know
Yeah.
me, who like knew me as I was struggling all this time, to get a book out there. So I'm hoping they'll come and just celebrate with me. We're gonna
That is
have
awesome.
champagne and hors d'oeuvres, some signings, and my husband is gonna do like a Q&A with me at that one, which should be fun.
Nice. And
And
then
then
is it March 26th?
I thought it was March 29th was
Okay.
Romancing the Books. The
Yeah.
Winter Park Library doesn't have it up yet, but it should be, I think, March 29th, Romancing the Books at the Winter Park Library. That's going to be a multi-author event.
Right. That is a lot of fun because they'll do a panel where somebody pops questions to each of the authors, and then you have a chance to walk around, meet each of them, and buy books from the Writer's Block bookstore who will be in the library on that day. And you can have the authors sign them. And you've got like 5 or 6 authors, which is really fun. And they're
Yeah.
multi genre. They're all romance, but they some of them will be New York Times bestsellers, new authors. They do a really good job of variety for you, so that's pretty cool.
I'm excited. That'll be my first multi-author event, and it was
Yeah,
an invitation, which made me feel good. That Lorelai
yeah, it'll be fun to see who
asked me to
you're
be there.
with. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. You'll enjoy that. So good stuff. Well, Christy, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and talking
I'm gonna
about your book.
sneeze. All right. Thank you for having me, Becky. I
it
love you as always. Listen, let me tell you about Becky. With the conference where we met, I was just going to drive home because it wasn't that far from my house. But she let me stay in her hotel room so that I didn't have to do the drive all the way home. So, we could party
we got
and
to know
all
each
that.
other.
We did, and that was really fun.
It was really fun.
And
And
I
it's
still
been so
remember.
much fun to watch your journey. And I cannot wait for this book to come out and to be able to share it with everyone. So thanks for telling us all the stories that go along with it. That is part of what I love talking to authors about, is hearing all the stories.
Well, thank you. And it's been really fun to watch your journey too. You're killing it. I'm super proud.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will see you soon. I'm going to pop into the Winter Park one and see you then.
I
So
would love
I look
that.
forward to that.
Wonderful. Thank you again for having me.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Christy. Have a great rest of
everybody.
your day. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.